and we've created extended IBR. So we're creating a program that will allow students to take student loans to attend Make School at relatively low interest rates.
Jeremy Rossman, welcome to 20 Minute Leaders. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, Michael. How's it going?
Good. How are you in SF?
Hanging in there.
We just saw each other a couple of months ago at Make School. Everything was normal.
Little did we know.
Little
Little
do
did
we,
we know.
little tiny things are picking up. All right. Who are you?
I am one of the founders of Make School. Make School is a new college in San Francisco, formerly operating out of a campus with dorms, faculty, clubs, all the normal
A
college.
full university, a full college, an
Right.
accredited college.
That's right. So you get a bachelor's. We have one major. It's an applied computer science major. We are currently operating fully online, and started offline and operated as such for many years. And we'll see what the future holds for us. But we're taking the approach of being ready for whatever eventuality. So if we have to teach online, we'll continue teaching online. If we teach offline, we'll continue teaching offline. We're going to crush it either way is the goal. And nothing is ever perfect, but in this world, you have to adapt quickly and really try your hardest to kind of rise up to the challenge. What we're seeing is a lot of schools are having a lot of challenges adapting to this new reality. And I'm not going to pretend that it's easy for us, but I think we're really fortunate that our faculty are mostly former engineers who have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of experience, if not with full remote work, which some of them do, with at least substantial work from home flexibility. They know tools, technologies, systems, communication frameworks that allow them to really do a better job of remote instruction than a faculty member who might be going online for the first time. And so by basically drawing inspiration from industry best practices and using our faculty as the kind of shining light, things are hanging in there, and student satisfaction on the online courses is actually we have something like a third of students that say the school is better now that it's online, which we'll see how long that
Yeah,
sentiment.
yeah.
We're still only a few weeks in, but that was a really surprising thing. And the majority of students, say it's better or as good as it was. So fingers crossed that we can keep that up. But we're really proud of that.
So, Jeremy, Make School is not a regular university. It is one of the most unique universities in the world because, most universities in the world, you pay to go to them and you pay sometimes a lot of money. The student loan debt in the US is one of the biggest debts, I think, in the US.
It's
And
over $1 billion, yeah.
crazy. And Make School, they come and study for free under the premise that when they get a job, not if, but when they get an engineering position, then they contribute back to Make School. And when we did TLDR, I remember my favorite sentence was that he told me was, when we wake up every morning and come to work, we know that we don't get paid until our students get paid. And that combined incentive and that win-win situation, tell me about it. It's beautiful.
Well, so funny you should mention that. Some things have changed on that front in the past couple of months. Not in at all in the core mission, but in the implementation of the mission. So it's been really interesting to see how that's evolved. So the core of the May School model, which is not changing at all, is when students graduate, if they don't have a job, they don't have to pay. And the amount that they have to pay is proportional to their salary, such that they're not stuck with a debt burden with monthly
Right.
payments that they can't afford and that sort of thing. The model that we've been using for many years is called an income share model. We were one of the first schools to use that in 2014. And students basically pay a flat percentage of their pre-tax salary. And there's a threshold below which, if they're not making up to that amount, they don't have to pay. We have a portion of the funding that comes for your living expenses. If you're not making more than 40K, you didn't have to pay that. If
Wow.
for the portion that goes for tuition, if you're not making more than 60K, you didn't have to pay that. Now, you might have heard that a pandemic has ravaged the world.
Yep, a little bit.
And and at the moment, the funding to make the next round of income share agreements actually is on hold. So this model that Make School has been doing for 6 years now,
Wow.
we had to rapidly think through, okay, how do you keep the mission intact
Yep.
the incentive alignment intact. So how do you make it painful for the school when the student isn't successful? And so we started doing a tremendous amount of research as to what now.
Yep.
We've come up with something. When is this episode going to air?
I think in about 3 weeks, 3, 4 weeks.
Okay, perfect. Then it'll be kosher to announce by then. So we're designing this program called EIBR. So ISA, if we can get the funding for it, will still exist. But right now, that's kind of rocky, to be perfectly honest with you. 4 weeks from now, we'll see what the reality ended up being.
I can't
But
wait.
At the moment, Plan A is this new program that we're introducing called EIBR. EIBR stands for Expanded Income-Based Repayment. Why that name? When students go for student loans to pay for college, there's a portion of the student loans called direct loans that actually come with default protections built in, where if you don't have a job, you don't have to pay.
Okay.
These are loans that are eligible for what's called an IBR repayment plan, which caps your monthly payments at 10% of your discretionary income, meaning that students who choose that payment plan at lower salaries can have their monthly payments significantly reduced, or if they have no job, they pay zero.
Okay.
Now, the problem is when you hear about student loans being this big evil thing, which they basically are, what students typically are struggling with is not the tranche that they took in direct loans, which for many students caps out at around $30,000, but that's if you take it over multiple years in a row. It's the part that is substantially greater usually that they took out in private loans or other types of federal loans that don't have that protection.
Yep.
So for most students, especially for a program that is a 4-year program, that is a full bachelor's program, a program that maybe is on the more expensive side, most of your student debt will usually be in a form that is not protected by IBR.
Wow.
So what we've done is we've modeled after those IBR protections, and we've created extended IBR. So we're creating a program that will allow students to take student loans to attend make school at relatively low interest rates. So actually, on average, and this is going to be interesting, in almost every case, students will pay back a lot less than under ISA. Because under the ISA plan, you were paying a fixed percentage of your salaries, and students are getting salaries from make school that are much higher than what we had initially modeled. We have
Really?
modeled students getting, we have students out there making net effective comp 140 to 180.
Wow.
At 19 to 21 years old. And those students are not the average, but there's enough of them that they're looking at us going, wait a second, what do you mean 20% of that number? You know, it sounded great when they were enrolling.
Yeah.
20% of my salary. Maybe one day I'll make 100K. Now they're making 150 and they're going, wait a second, that's a huge number. So we're working on EIBR. So the way that it's going to work is Make School will pay your student loans for you if you fall below certain salary thresholds, and if you don't have a job, we'll pay them all for you.
Wow.
So we take the protection that the government has designed for the direct loans, and we expand it to all of your government or private loans, depending on what you choose to take.
Wow.
Which has 3 effects. One, incentive alignment is still there.
Right.
If we get paid until we don't, because if you don't have a job, then we have to pay for you, right? So it's a form of like refund policy essentially, right? And every month that you can't afford those loans, we have to pitch in and make the payments for you. Also means you'll never accrue interest on those loans. You won't be in default on those loans. Make School's on the hook, not you, right? The second thing it achieves is a more equitable distribution of payments for students that are in our typical outcome bands. So that means students who are earning typical engineer salaries will be paying less for Make School, sometimes depending on how much they take out, to the tune of 50K or more less than they would under the current plan. And the third thing that it achieves is on a cohort basis, the average paid back is quite a bit less. So when you look at the average case, the individual typical case, payback is less. And then when you look at the school, we are incentivized just as much as we were. And so that is the default plan at the moment. Now, there's a chance that by the time this episode airs, ISA funding is back in the picture.
Yeah.
But as you might know, with the markets uncertain as they are,
Sure.
and the lending markets in particular contracting, the funders for ISA right now said, pause, don't promise that to students yet. We need to rework what the deal is. But we've been able to create this EIBR thing, which is not announced as of today, but by the time this episode airs, will be announced. And we're going to have these full tables that show for every income bracket how much you would have had to pay under the old plan and how much you have to pay under this one. And basically, it's better in most cases. And regardless, we cap your payments at a certain percentage of your income, so you never have a debt payment you can't afford.
Wow. No, Jeremy, I have such a privilege both speaking to somebody who founded a university. I can't even believe I'm saying this, founded a university at the
Technically, a college because we don't have master's programs yet.
okay, I'm from Israel. I don't know the difference. College, university, whatever. Somebody who
We're
founded a
working on
college.
it. We're working on it. University soon, but not soon enough.
I remember when you announced that you got the accreditation to do the applied computer science degree. Unbelievable. And I came to San Francisco myself and I saw the class in session and I saw how all of you are working and you were showing me how you're doing construction on these different areas. Just unbelievable. How did you, I mean, I remember 5 years ago you came as a sponsor to Hack Gen Y, the hackathon,
Yes.
and you were one of the keynote speakers. You were
Yes.
talking about Make School the summer program. How did
Yes.
this all even start and get to become a college?
So between 2012 and 2014, Make School was up to two things. We were running a summer program for high school and college students who felt like they wanted to develop practical computer science and software engineering skills and build a portfolio item that they could use. High school students would often leverage what they built in the summer to make their college apps look shinier.
Yep.
And many college students use what they built in the summer as an entryway into getting awesome internships. So early on, we started having awesome outcomes. Students, even at universities as prestigious as MIT and UC Berkeley, would be willing to be quoted saying, the reason that I got my internship at Facebook or at Square was thanks to the Make School Summer Academy.
Wow.
The second thing that we were doing was we were repackaging the summer program curriculum and we were selling it to universities. So we actually had as a largest customer at the time, Carnegie Mellon.
Really?
And we helped many universities either in front of the scenes or behind the scenes introduce some of their first ever app development courses. In 2014, we realized that if we were super popular as a course embedded at other universities, and we were super popular with college students on summer break, then why supplement the system by plugging gaps for other schools? Let's build our own school. So we stopped selling curriculum to universities and we launched our own pilot of what turned into the college.
Wow.
In 2014, it had 11 students, and 2015, it had 20 something students. And today, there's like 170 something students in the program, with another 150 to 200 new students expected next fall. We operated as an alternative to college. You don't have to go to college. You can come to Make School from 2014 to 2018. In 2018, we got our accreditation, but kept the program length compressed. So Make School, you actually get a 4-year applied computer science bachelor's degree that is regionally accredited, which is the top standard of accreditation out in the West Coast. And you get that 4-year degree in 2 to 2.5 years, depending on what course load you take. So we switched from having a 2-year non-degree program to a 2-year degree program. We, if you don't have a job, you don't have to pay. That is still true. And we're really proud to say, like, pandemic, times are creating some job market pressure, right? Tens of millions of Americans are out of a job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's likely that we are unaffected, but I will say so far we've only had one student that we know of who had their internship canceled. And in the past 6 weeks, Apple, Pandora, Zendesk, and other big companies have made offers to our students.
Wow.
So
Jeremy,
so far,
unbelievable.
so good. Fingers crossed. It all depends on how the situation evolves and so on and so forth. I don't want to be insensitive to that, but we have a huge focus on taking best practices for CS theory, teaching CS theory in a project-based way, combining that with concentrations, either mobile development, web development, data science, that are taught fully project-based with the latest and greatest tools, and having students build out portfolio items in every single class. So every single class results in some sort of artifact you can put in your portfolio. And in a time of crisis and uncertainty, you kind of want to be certain the person you're going to hire knows how to do the work. And Make School students all have portfolios that kind of show you rather than tell you. I don't have to give an employer a GPA because I can just say, look at my student's GitHub, right? And that's been really, really good for our outcomes in terms of employment. And yeah, that's kind of the high level of the story, going from a summer program to a curriculum vendor to an alternative to college to a college, all in the short span of 8 years.
So Jeremy, where did you go to school? Remind me.
You know the answer to that question. I went to MIT.
Okay.
And I started off with lofty aspirations of majoring in computer science. To be honest, I basically, I guess the world has gone remote. It's okay to use internet language in real world now, because what's the real world except for online? I noped out of there real quick when it came to computer science courses. I remember going to my first ever CS class lecture and being like, not
Really?
happening. I was fortunate to have access to amazing project-based progressive computer science education in high school. When I got to MIT, I was expecting more of the same, and the lecture-based 100 students in the same
Yeah.
class kind of situation, I instantly disengaged. That did not fit my learning style. I just could not do it. And I immediately started teaming up with friends to make iPhone apps, because the App Store was new back then. It was relatively new.
Ah,
So what happened was I finished my sophomore year and I'm like, wait a second, I've learned a lot more about product development, industry best practices, and CS from teaming up with friends and designing, coding, and launching an iPhone game
sure.
than I have from any formal CS class, which I basically took one of and then was like, no. I actually switched to being a media studies major briefly at MIT before dropping out.
Really?
So by the time
Wow.
I started Make School, the whole goal was just to teach CS in the way I wish it had been taught to me. So we created those first ever courses. They were designed for students like me who are not good at teaching themselves something out of a book, not good at teaching themselves something out of a lecture, who need high touch instructional support, but if they have it, can be very high performing. One of the things that is important to know about the world of software engineering is that it's full of survivorship bias. The people out there who are successful, many of them are in that 5 to 10% of people who made it through the no support, lecture based, textbook based type of education. And we've come to think maybe that's what it means to be good at computer science, but that's false. There are people out there, like I was, I'd like to think, who are very high potential, but whose learning style is best supported by project based learning and having actual experts available as your faculty who can be your mentors to unblock you when you get stuck, not sitting there as sages on the stage, experts in front of the room, talking at you for an hour.
Right.
And so what we did is we built a more flipped classroom experience, project-based learning, and it was
So paint me a
tailored to.
picture, Jeremy. Paint me a picture. I'm walking into the Make School classroom. I saw it in my own eyes, but I want you to paint a picture to whoever is watching this because it's
it's
different.
it's completely empty because we're now all online
Okay.
until further notice. No, and actually we've used online, between Zoom breakout rooms, our learning management system, like things are pretty buttoned down. But a lot of the time, if you walk into a random class, what you see is a bunch of students coding. So they have their IDE up and they have tutorial materials up that are guiding them through some sort of project. And then there's faculty and TAs who are roaming and helping individual students, unblocking them as they get stuck. Then periodically there's going to be recaps to do checks for understanding and help highlight certain points, conceptual or otherwise, that the whole class needs to align on.
Right.
And then back to project work. Classes often split between assigned projects. We say, hey, you're going to build this, here's how. And then open projects. We say, you're going to build something of your own conception, but it must satisfy these requirements. And so students kind of go back and forth between both kinds of projects. We also have the full complement of general education now, from communication to history to sciences and all that, which makes, integral part of a real degree. And as much as people might think that stuff is fluff, the reality is employers tell us all the time that they want it. They want students who've gone through that stuff, and they see our students as being even more competitive to hire because we haven't cut that stuff out of the curriculum. And that's been given us a great advantage as well. In a world full of boot camps, everyone's kind of taking the shortest path. We haven't cut the communication, the teamwork, the project management, the history, the philosophy that you need to be a well-rounded,
Yeah.
member of society and also team member. So
And I mean, a lot of these workshops are also taught by professionals that are that are working at the same time, right? They're not full time
um,
lecturers. Some you have people that are coming in from the industry to support this, right?
So most of the faculty are actually full-timers, where the thing they were doing immediately before was full-time in industry. So a lot of our faculty kind of do rotations, like they'll come teach with us for like 2-3 years and they'll go back to industry. But
Wonderful.
we also have classes that are being taught by industry. So for example, Yelp taught our technical interviewing class, which was pretty cool. And we have Google is teaching a pre-orientation program for
Wow.
students this summer. So before you start your first class, Google is going to run a program for Make School students. And then we also are about to announce, which I guess by the time this airs will be announced, that Microsoft and Lyft are doing their first ever on campus, or I guess online at this point, partnership of the kind, where they're going to be supporting a lot of our like technical interview prep, algorithms prep, and so on and so forth to get students ready for for technical internships and apprenticeships. So we're going to be
Unbelievable.
announcing a Microsoft. So we'll have Yelp, Google, Microsoft, and Lyft in the mix. It's like actual companies teaching content that is integrated into the curriculum.
Jeremy, our 20 minutes went by way too quickly.
Way too fast.
Way too fast. But I'm going to put you on the spot for once, and I know that you can handle it. I would like you to tell me 3 words that you think best describe yourself, or if I would ask anybody in the Make School campus, how would they describe you?
3 words. Extroverted,
100%.
optimistic, analytical.
I like the combination of the 3. It sounds like a good idea. Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
This was great. Take care.
Care.